Hi, and welcome to Jules Voto's Photo Focus. So you want a 300mm lens, but your budget is under $100. Well, here are three options. Now, I'm sure there are many other options for used 300mm lenses under $100, but the three I'm going to talk about are the three I own. So let's get started. First is the oldest lens in the group. It's the 300mm F4.5. This is the original 300mm lens for the Nikon F. It was introduced in 1964. This particular model dates from around 65 or 66. It's all metal construction, has a telescoping built-in lens hood, which is very nice, fits very securely. Lens focuses down to 13 feet, so it's not a real close focusing lens like the newer 300s. It also has two mounting points for tripod or monopod. One will put you for horizontal pictures. One is set for horizontal. The other for vertical. Okay, so you would need to dismount the lens from the tripod or monopod and then flip it around. But it does give you that option. So it doesn't have a rotating collar like a lot of the newer lenses. It's 5 elements and 5 groups. Takes 72mm filters, has a 6-bladed aperture, and it weighs 990 grams or about 2.18 pounds. As all these older Nikons, all metal construction, very well made. Okay, so next on our list is the 100 to 300 F5.6. It's an AIS lens. It was introduced in 1984. I think it was in production about 10 years. It takes 62mm filters. It focuses down to about 6.5 feet, but it also has a macro setting at 100 that will get you down to about 2.5 feet. Okay. It's a push-pull zoom. Okay, you push or pull to zoom and then turn the large zoom focus ring to focus. It has 9-bladed aperture, weighs 930 grams or 2.05 pounds, so it's a little bit lighter than the other one. It will take a HN24 screw-in hood. I'm not sure if this is the original hood for it, but it will work on this lens. All right. Next, we have a little bit more modern lens. This is the 75 to 300, 4.5 to 5.6. So when you get to 300, it is a 5.6. It's an autofocus lens, so it has a built-in CPU. It will focus down to 5 feet, and the macro setting on this works at all focal lengths. All right, normally it focuses down to 10 feet, but when you get into the macro range, it will go down to about 5 feet. It also takes 62mm filters. The Nikon hood for this is the HN24. So this is the hood for this lens, but as I said earlier, it will work with the 100 to 300. This lens weighs 831 grams or 1.83 pounds, so it's the lightest. Has 13 elements and 11 groups and a 9-bladed aperture. Now, depending on what camera you have and what purpose you want a 300 for, one or the other of these lenses may be best for you. For example, if you have a Nikon DSLR, well, this lens will focus automatically on the DSLR. Oh, one more thing, I'm sorry, I forgot on this lens. It does have a more convenient rotating tripod collar, unlike the fixed points on the 300-4.5. And of course, the 100 to 300 has no capability for mounting on a tripod. It has no collar or mounting points on that 100 to 300. Okay, so if you have a Nikon DSLR, this lens will autofocus, of course. It does have a CPU, which means even on a mirrorless camera, it will transmit the lens data to the camera, and you won't have to set, as you would with the other two lenses, non-CPU lens data into the camera. However, the thing with this lens, in my testing, this lens was the least sharp of the three. So let's talk a little bit more about the 100 to 300. This lens was actually the sharpest of the three. Now I only tested at 300, okay, since this video was about 300 millimeter lenses. I just tested this at 300 and it was very sharp. It's very front heavy, seems more front heavy than the others. Now what about the 300 4.5? Well, obviously it's the fastest. It gives you 2/3 of a stop more than the other two at 300. But it only focuses down to 13 feet, as I said earlier. It's sharper than the 75 to 300 at 300. And just one thing about that, I previously owned the 75 to 300 years ago, and I thought it was very sharp. At the time, I had nothing to compare it to, and I sold it and then bought it back a few years ago. And in comparing it to these two lenses, I found it to be the least sharp. This 300 4.5, while not quite as sharp as the 100 to 300, is definitely sharper than the 75 to 300. But there is a good deal of chromatic aberration, and the contrast isn't the greatest. But remember, this is a lens that's almost 60 years old, doesn't have the latest coatings. The other two are multi-coated. So which one do you choose? Now on a modern mirrorless camera, which any of these lenses will adapt to, although they won't autofocus obviously, you do have the ability to see an enlarged view through your viewfinder or on your LCD screen. You also have, with most mirrorless cameras, the ability to have focus peaking, which makes focusing easier. The other thing with a mirrorless camera, with any of these lenses, is most mirrorless cameras have built-in image stabilization. So that's something that was not available when any of these three lenses were originally introduced. But all could be purchased for under 100, actually well under 100. I know I paid for the 300 4.5, I only paid $50, and it's in excellent condition. Don't remember quite what I paid for the 75 to 300 or the 100 to 300, but I know they were all under $100. And I checked some listings, and you could still find these lenses for well under $100. So if you would like an inexpensive 300, I think one of these will fit the bill. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I come out with a new video every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. So thanks for watching.